Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium, and today is Halloween. I just need to get that out there very quickly so you understand why I'm dressed the way I am. And I will say that I had a great big party last night at my house, and I dressed up really cool, and I'll flash some pictures up here for you to see, and you'll see also how the dogs had their Halloween costumes on. But I got to tell you, I don't have it in me to do that again today. So you guys are getting the quick, the easy Halloween costume. So listen, today we're going to talk about ghost, and we're going to talk about why would a soul, why would, let's say, Susan, why would I not cross over to the light? Why would I choose to become a ghost? I mean, of all things, right? Why would you choose an eternity of being earthbound and not having love and light and beautiful reunion with your family or your loved ones, or frankly, the ability to eat anything you want? I mean, think about it, folks. Anyway, I digress. I want to talk to you about some of the reasons that I have run into in my dealings with ghosts. You guys know, if you're regular watchers, that I run into ghosts quite often. I really typically try not to engage with them or to talk to them, to be honest with you. And here's why. Here's some reasons why you may, upon exiting your earthly body, decide that you're not going to go to the light, that instead you're going to turn around and stay right where you are. So one reason would be that you're scared that you're going to go to HELL. I don't know what I can say and I can't say on YouTube these days, but you're scared because maybe your religion has indoctrinated you and you feel like, I wasn't the best person, right? I did some things in my life, and I know I'm just going to go down to, Satan's garage and be hanging out in the man cave, So, and I mean, I'm laughing, but it's true. It's really true. So that can be a reason why they may be afraid to go. Another thing that I've run across is that they are looking for someone. So I did a video, and I have a playlist. If you guys will go to my main channel, click on the icon, go to the main channel, you'll see playlists. You'll see a playlist for ghosts, and it's great. There's some really fun stories there. But one guy was a ship's captain. This happened on Galveston, which is an island off the coast of Texas. He was a ship's captain, and it was some disaster, and I don't remember all the details. You'll have to watch the video. I'm telling you, it's worth it. And he got separated from his family, and there was a disaster, like a hurricane. And when he came, well, basically he ended up being a ghost, but he was sure that he could find his family, his wife and his 2 daughters specifically. He knew he wasn't going to cross over without them. Period. End of story. So this man wandered around the island, specifically these couple of houses. Now we're going to talk about how ghosts travel later, but he was kind of going back and forth between a couple of houses. Okay. So I had a really good friend who in Galveston, who said, come down here. I've bought this house. I'm going to remodel it, but it's got bad energy. And it did have bad energy. Some of the worst energy I've ever come across. But this guy wasn't part of it. While I was trying to figure out that energy, he walked up and basically tapped me on the shoulder. Now, typically, if I was just visiting your house, I might say, yeah, there's some bad energy in this part. Just because I'm clairsentient, psychic feeling, I might be like, yeah, I don't really like that part of your house. I'm gonna stay over here, but I'm not going to deal with it. I don't go around just chatting with ghosts all the time. I literally would never stop. That's how many there are. So in this case, this ship's captain, he knew that I could see him. Now, this is how they I can't tell if I like have like a little light on the top of my head, like a Teletubby or what. But if they can see me, they can see that I can talk to them, even if I don't acknowledge them. Okay. So they'll follow mediums around. I went to a psychic one time when I was very young, in my 20s. And he said, there's all these dead people around you. He was freaking out. And I'm like, I don't know why. Get them off of me. He's like, I can't. I don't know why they're here. So I was a medium, but I didn't know it. We have an entourage of dead people with us all the time, trying to get our attention. So this guy was able to get my attention because I was already open, because I was dealing with this energy, right? So I was already focused on this energy, which meant that I was already seeing across the veil. And because I was already engaged in that type of business, I kind of felt his energetic tap, tap, tap on my shoulder. I turned around thinking, now what am I going to have to deal with in this house? I'm really, really, really sorry that I ever went. And here was the ship's captain. He had this kind of Greek fisherman's hat on, and he was a white guy with a beard. You can watch the video for all the details, but cut to the chase. He said, I'm looking for my wife and my daughters. At that time, the way it happens for me, it happens different for everybody. So don't try to emulate someone to the degree that you capitulate and give up your own uniqueness. Okay, just allow it to happen to you the way it does. For me, I often, because I'm very clairvoyant, that's also something different. You may not be, you may be, whatever. I see this kind of veil, this foggy line of fog that's like a veil. And then I see people come out of it. Now, they don't typically, hardly ever does their whole body come down here. Usually they lean out of the veil. Imagine that you're on a ship and somebody's holding your feet, hopefully, and you're leaning over the railing of the ship as far as you can, stretching your hand out as far as you can for your loved one to take your hand. This is how I see it. So at that time, I think his wife, one of his daughters popped out of the veil, her head, and then she popped back in like that fast. I was like, did I just see that? It was so quick. I wasn't even sure. And I was about to tell him, hey, I'll help you, but I've got like literally demon level 5 behind me getting ready to like, I don't know what, to me. It was bad. And I don't do that kind of work. So please don't even ask me because it whooped my butt, came back to my house and whooped my butt for a long time. Anyway, I was about to tell him, look, I'm busy right now. And then his other daughter came in, and then both of their heads kind of popped out of that fog. And then his wife. So then it was the 2 daughters and the wife. So the 2 heads, and then the wife's head was just above. And I'm like, and they're right behind it. And I'm like, turn around. They're right there. They went across the veil. They went to the light. They've been waiting on you, dummy. You've been wandering around like, when you go to like the department store and the husband is wandering around and nobody can find him. They always think it's the wife. We know it's him. But anyway, he's been wandering around Earth for, I don't know, 100 years or so. And luckily they don't feel time like we do over there. So when I got him to turn around, boom, he was gone. He was here because he just knew that his daughters and his wife were still here. Okay, so that's a common thing. They're looking for someone. I had someone looking for me. I saw this guy when I was, again, in my late 20s. I saw this guy. I woke up because my dog was growling. That's never a good thing, right? You're in bed and your dog is standing growling at the door. You're like, oh, fluck. You know what I mean? This is not good. The door was just cracked a little bit and all her hair was standing on her back and she was growling. And I got up and she wouldn't leave. She wasn't going to back up, move. I couldn't even get her to move. And I remember sort of cracking the door open a little bit and there was nothing there. But for a glimpse, I saw this guy that I called Abraham Lincoln. Now, it was not Abraham Lincoln, but it was a tall guy. Again, another white dude with a beard. He looked a lot like Abraham Lincoln, mainly because he had a brown beard and he was tall. And he was wearing some kind of black suit. Okay, so I knew energetically it wasn't Abraham Lincoln, but that's just what I called him. So he disappeared. I don't know what I did. I vexed, banished something. I don't know. I got rid of him. But fast forward, something like 10 years later, I'm in one of my first classes, psychic class. And the guy was going to introduce us to some mediumship. And he says, and you know, he was going to read the class to kind of do a demonstration. And he says, I have this guy here who looks vaguely like Abraham Lincoln. And I'm just like trying to slink down in the chair. You know what I mean? I'm like, don't talk to me. And he's like, who's this for? He's got to be here for somebody because I don't recognize him. Nobody's raising their hand, right? No, of course not, you know? So I'm like, he's mine. So that's when I realized I was a medium. Now, of course, I should have known because I could see ghosts since I was a kid, but we don't want to be odd. We don't want to be oddballs. At least I didn't want to be an oddball any more than I already was, right? So, and I just didn't think it was a good thing. So that's when we read him together. Me and the teacher actually read him together. And it turns out him and I, this dude, Abraham Lincoln guy, we were in a war together. I don't know if it was the Civil War or early Civil War. It was some war. I don't think it was the Civil War because, oh yeah, it was early Civil War. And, you know, this is another thing, right? Soldiers sometimes don't cross over because you make this pact with another soldier when bullets or cannonballs or missiles or whatever it is flying around you and you've never been so close to death. And at that point, you've likely seen your fellow soldiers die, or perhaps you've killed people. It puts you in a frame of mind that nothing else can. Nothing can put you in a more present state of your own mortality. During that time, a lot of soldiers make pacts. I won't leave you. I'll carry your body out. You promise to carry my body out. You promise to let my family know. I'll promise to let your family know. All those kinds of things, right? Well, so apparently him and I made this promise, like we were going to wait for each other or assist each other in some manner. And y'all, I went to the light. I mean, I don't know, maybe I let him down, but I was like, peace out, y'all. This is crazy. So he didn't. He stayed and he found me. And he found me, which is interesting because we're going to talk about how ghosts travel in a minute, but he somehow found me. Or perhaps that's the reason why, you know, maybe it was all arranged so that I could meet him and so that he could help me understand that I was a medium. That's how our spirit guides work. Like this guy wasn't going to get on a plane and fly to some other place to find me, right? It wasn't, he doesn't have that kind of ability. So there I was, and there he was. So I found that out. We were able to sort of mend the situation. You know, I apologized. I'm like, I'm sorry. I thought maybe you went to the light. Like, how am I supposed to know you didn't go to the light? I mean, we didn't talk about that part of the deal, right? We were just talking about humans. So he's fine. He went to the light. It's all good. But this is another situation where people don't want to cross over, right? So we've talked about, you might think that you're going to go to, you know, the Satan's front porch or whatever. We've talked about how you might be trying to look for somebody. You know, you don't, some disasters happen. You don't want to leave. Another reason, a third reason is that there is an abusive person on the other side that you don't want to meet. So maybe your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, was abusive to you and you don't want to meet them. You're just as happy being right here, being a little old ghost in this little old house where nobody is going to harm you, right? So I've run across that again in the videos. You'll see a video where I ran in, and I was in New Mexico, not this last year, but the previous year, and crossed over a lot of people in that time, in that trip. But one was this young boy, I don't know, 10, 12, 13. I don't remember the details. He was happy there. He was like, I'm happy. I don't want to go anywhere. I do want to admit that I have some sales tactics. Like I've got a little suit, like I'm the Amway salesperson of heaven, or, across the veil. So I have some sales tactics. If I need to help someone cross over and they don't really want to, I can tell them some things that will often persuade them. So the first thing I do is I energetically go and send a message with my intention and my energy. I send a message. Who on the other side has this person, be it this boy or whomever, who has their highest good in their heart? Now, you'd be surprised who shows up, because oftentimes it's not who you think it is. It's not mom. It's not dad. It might be a brother. In this young man, am I getting my stories mixed up? Because there's another story about a kid that was in my garage. In this case, yeah, I'm getting my stories mixed up, but that's okay. In this case, it was his aunt. His mom had run off. Okay, there was a couple of boys. This was, I don't remember, at least 50 years ago. And there was a couple of boys in the family. The mom ran off, and the dad was stuck with the boys, and he was things were hard. He was in New Mexico in a rural area, and it was hard scrabble. It was hard to make a living. Everything was hard. And the boys were just a little too young to be of any help. So the dad shipped the boys to, I believe it was St. Louis, to be with with his aunt, which would be their great aunt. Now, the great aunt, lived in quote unquote the city, kind of in close to the city, and she lived in I think it was like an apartment or something. So this was all new, right? Like these boys grew up barefoot in the country. They're seeing all this new stuff. Buildings, apartment buildings, people wearing regular, suits and dresses, potentially maybe automobiles. I don't remember. But the great thing about this woman was that she gave them hard candies. That was his favorite thing. She was kind to them. She cared for them. She washed them. They hardly ever got to take baths. He had an older brother. They got to take baths, and she gave him hard candies, and he loved it. He just thought it was the best thing, right? So, but as soon as they got to be of age, their dad sent for them. So I think they were there with her for 1 or 2 years. I don't remember the details. So she sent them back on the train, and they got put to work, as often young men do at that time. And their dad was just mean. This little boy says he was quite mean. He often, and reminding me, if his dad said, go do something, this little boy wasn't allowed to walk. He had to run. So if it was like, go over there and fetch that, and it was, say, even 30 or 40, 50 yards away, if this little boy didn't run there and run back, he got a whooping. So this kid wasn't liking his life. He didn't like his father. He didn't really know his mother. The only person that ever showed him any kindness was his great aunt. So when I started talking to him on my last day at that New Mexico trip, I started once he got talking, he was talking nonstop. And it was just telling me all about what he does and blah, blah, blah. And his great aunt. And so I knew that because I asked, remember, who has this boy's highest good in their heart? Here she comes. She looked like B. Who is that Aunt B? What TV show is that from? Anyway, she looked like that. And I said, what if I can get your aunt? He called her his aunt. And what if I could get your aunt to come get you and you can live with her? And he's like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. And boom, he was gone. He crossed over like a flash. because he had love for her and she had love for him. Now, I know this opens up a lot of questions about why doesn't his dad love him after he's crossed over? I don't think I have time to get into this. I'm trying to keep this quick and light. And that's a heavy thing, and it would require a long time for me to describe it to you. But let's just just say that for this part of our soul's journey, the people on the other side have their same personality that they did when they were here. So when I do a mediumship reading, if I call in your dad and I say, oh my God, he was a saint of a man. And you're like, you don't got my dad. You know what I mean? My dad wasn't no saint. So right, if they come to you in a reading as this enlightened soul, then you don't recognize them, number one. Number two, you don't have anything to work through with them anymore. You don't have another chance to work through that lesson that you were trying to work through when you were here. But if they come through still cranky or dishonest or whatever, you have another chance to say, you know what? I can see you haven't changed. I can see that even though you're crossed over, you haven't changed one bit. But you know what? I forgive you. I just want you to be happy, Pops. Okay, well, boom, lesson done, right? Okay, so they gave you another chance to see this guy is still the same, or this person is still the same person. The work is all yours. The work is all yours. You forgive them so that you can go forward. So you're not in some prison of anger and resentment, and honestly, guys, if somebody apologizes to you, it's nice. It is nice. Does it make your anger go away? Does it make you feel like amazing $1 million? No, because the stuff is still in you that you have to let go of. So, okay. So now we know that there could be abuse, could be another reason why they don't want to cross over. Another reason is that they feel particularly attached to the house. Now, I've run into this with some realtors. They call me up and they're like, and these are friends of mine, because I don't really do this work professionally, this type of work professionally. I do readings. I'm a mediumship. I'm a psychic. I teach classes. I have members. I do all those things. I just really don't, as of yet, work with that type of energy. But so let's say somebody crosses over in the house or at the hospital, doesn't really matter. Somehow they get themselves back to the house. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And they're like, no, this is my house and I ain't leaving. And you can't make me. Now I've seen that too, right? So normally if you've got a ghost in your house that just feels super possessive of the house, a lot of times they're okay with you until you start to do some remodeling. Let's say you want to get yourself a new kitchen, or you want to blow that wall out, or whatever you want to do. You really want to change it up. Well, you're probably going to make them mad. And then you're going to know that that ghost is mad, and you're going to know that you have a ghost. I have seen this numerous times. One of my friend's brothers ended up having to sell his house because him and this ghost just were loggerheads. They were both very hard-headed, and I couldn't get the ghost to cross over. He was, and he had gained a lot of power, meaning some ghosts are happy to live in the closet. They're usually in places that aren't bothered much, like the boiler room or the attic, or just someplace where nobody really goes there much. Although they are attracted to bathrooms, they're attracted to water. But this ghost was fine until this guy undertook a major renovation. This house was over 100 years old. And I found out talking to the ghost. I mean, I was in the living room, basically like trying to negotiate between this ghost and this man. And this ghost said, I was a ship's builder. This also was in Galveston. Galveston is very haunted. And I have a lot of friends that live there. So this ghost was a ship's builder, and he built this house with his own bare hands, with many times leftover wood from whatever ship they were working on. And so he knew every nail placement. He knew everything about this house. Now, this man was going to come in here and take a wall down and change the house. No, that was a big fat no. So some of the things this guy would do, which was fascinating to me. Now, my friend's brother was kind of tight-lipped about it because he didn't really believe in ghosts. But to be honest with you, this ghost was kicking his butt so bad that he had to have me over there because he didn't know what else to do at that point. So this house is on pier and beam, which means that the house is up off the ground and it's not on a slab. It's not on the ground. There's crawl space under the house. Now, this guy would crawl under the house and he would have a power equipment. He'd have a drill or something. And it would be corded. He had cords. So he would tie a knot in the cord so that when he got, it was a pretty big house. And when he got 20 foot under the house and he yanked on it, the thing wouldn't become unplugged. So it's common that you would just tie a little knot in there to keep the cord together. Well, he would get to his place and pull on the cord to, get more cord to go, and it would become unplugged. And this is a serious kind of guy. I mean, he's about his business, let's put it that way. So he would crawl back, make a knot, tie it, crawl back over again, go to use his equipment, and it was dead, not plugged in. So after this happened many, many times, and I mean many times, because this guy's hard-headed. He's not going to take two or three of these isn't going to prove to him that this is really happening. So then he had put in blinds, which I think were exceptionally offensive to this ghost because, they would have had drapes. So he put in blinds, mini blinds, and they had the cords. Now, this was probably 8 years ago. They had that cords. Well, this guy was tying knots in the cords, and I didn't know any of this. I told this guy all of this. He says he's untying your cords under the house. Yes. He says he's tying knots in the blinds, the pull lines of the blinds. And he said, yes. I said, but he's not just tying any knots. He's tying a ship's knot. And he told me the knot, and I looked it up on my phone, and I showed him my phone, and I said, this is the knot he's tying. And the guy's face just went pale. And he said, yes, that's what it looks like. I said, okay, so we've established that this man is the rightful owner of this house. Now let's see if we can't work out a deal between you two. But I couldn't. They neither one of them could come to any agreement. And that guy ended up selling the house. The new owners have lived there just fine. He doesn't bother them. They don't bother him. They haven't done any work on the house. And so everybody's happy. So that might be another reason why that you run into a ghost, or why a ghost stays there, is possessiveness. It often happens with realtors as well. Now, another reason why, and this might be the last reason that I talk about before I go on to how ghosts actually move around, is spite. And that's a sad thing, but it's true. I have run across people that have specifically not gone to the light because they wanted to stay earthbound and mess with their ex, or let's say that they were still married, but they weren't particularly close to that person. Let's say that they were, there was a lot of animosity. And let's say that the one person who was maybe a little bit more spiteful crosses over, and the other person is like, going to sell this house. I'm going to get out of here. Right. So they try to sell the house, but the person that crossed over, that did not cross over, that's spiteful, is in the house and making bad smells, throwing things on the floor. So let's say you get everything, perfectly staged, and you're ready for that first showing, and the realtor for the other client who may be considering buying the house comes in, and the pillows are on the floor, the curtains are down, and, they're calling the other realtor going, my God, you left this place a mess. And that realtor's like, no, I left 2 hours ago and everything was perfect. Oh, well, now this is what's happening. And what's this strange smell coming out of the bedroom? When you have a few go-rounds with that, you realize this is not normal. I'm dealing with a ghost. So that's when you call it Ghostbusters, because when it comes to a spiteful person, it's very hard to get them to cross over. One person, and again, it's like you're trying to find, the first thing I always do is who on the other side has their highest good, who on the other side has their heart. Like, hey, if I can find your mama, if I can find your auntie, your sister, your dad. One time I brought a guy, I brought his best friend, okay, his best male friend, which was pretty cool. They were like, hey, it's good to see you, blah, 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 but that didn't do it. Turns out the guy had a crush on his best friend's sister. Y'all, this is 100 years ago too. I get her. I'm like, come on down, sister. And so she comes down and he goes flying up. Still works. Still works. So in this case, if it's a spiteful situation, I might not be able to, it might not work, right? Like, here's my sales package. First of all, let me bring somebody that you love, somebody you truly, truly have beautiful, heartfelt feelings for. If that doesn't work, I will bring a pet. If that doesn't work, I'll find out what you like to do. Do you like to fish? One guy, I brought a Harley. I literally brought a Harley down here, and that man got on it and rode into the light. Okay. I will do whatever I have to do, right? I'll show you. Another thing is I start talking to them and saying, you're so limited here. You can't go anywhere. You're stuck in this house. You're stuck in this neighborhood. You're stuck with this person. But if you would just cross over, you can travel anywhere in the world, in the universe. Travel anywhere. See anything you've ever wanted. You want to see the Great Pyramids? There they are. Do you want to go see the Amazon jungle? There it is. Do you want to go spy on this famous person? There you go. Do you want to eat anything that you want and really have a better opportunity of tasting it, smelling it? Go. It's not just your loved ones. It's a whole different world up there for you to experience that is so much richer. Now, if they're not a spiteful person, I'll also talk about the love and the light, right? You can go up there and be surrounded by the most intense, beautiful love that you've ever experienced. Maybe you've never experienced that love. Probably not. If you chose to be a ghost, that pretty much tells me you've never experienced unconditional love. Because if you've experienced unconditional love, you're going straight to the light because you know that's what you're going to get. So, but if you don't know it, then you don't know what to expect, right? So there's all different things that I use to entice them. Sometimes it's easier than others. I've learned that sometimes they trick me, and through experience, they go up, and if I don't watch them, lay my eyes on them, my third eye, if I don't watch them go all the way up, across the veil, the one-way ticket over the bridge, they will hang up there and then come back down, especially if they're spiteful and they're trying to get back at a spouse or something. They'll try to get the medium off of their case by looking like they crossed over, but they really come right back down. This happened, they're reminding me, this happened again in New Mexico, which is just like my spiritual home. I just love that place. It's a place that I feel very metaphysical when I'm visiting there. So I do visit. I try to visit once a year. So not this year, but last year, I had crossed over this little boy. I thought I called in, I saw him. I called in his grandmother. I called in whoever for his highest good. His grandmother showed up. Something didn't seem right to me, but I was busy. It was raining. It was starting to rain. And I'm like, I'm on a trail and I got to get back, right? I'm trying to see, this is where I learned this lesson. I'm like, I got to hurry. Just go to your grandmother, go to your grandmother, go to your grandmother. But it didn't seem right because she kind of snatched him. And normally, if the connection is true, the person here, the soul that's trapped, that's a ghost, will run to that person. But in this case, she kind of grabbed him. I told myself it was normal because he was a little boy. I think he was like 3. Well, the next day or 2 days later, I'm getting ready to leave, walking the same trail, and I saw that little boy, and I like freaked out because I thought, what the heck? I crossed him over. I know I crossed him over, but he was there again. Well, it turns out the story is that his grandmother had custody of him, but because you're going to have to watch the video, but his mom left him, but all I know is that the little boy wanted to be with the mom, but the dad and the grandmother made it so that the grandmother had custody, and the mom was Native American. And I think the mom was Hispanic, but I don't remember. And I figured out he faked me out. He went with her, but got loose and came back. So I did an extra deep call for whoever had this little boy's highest good in mind. And his mother came she was really far away. Now, normally, again, when I see them, they usually come from my right side, and they're usually within 10 feet of me. But here she was straight ahead of me, and she was about 20 yards away. And she was approaching very kind of cautiously. She was approaching very cautiously. Now, he saw her and he started to run, but I kept him with me because by now I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. The grandmother was back. The grandmother was on my right, lateral, just right next to me, but about 10 feet this way. The little boy was in front of me, about 3 feet in front of me to my right. Here comes the mother. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I had a conversation with his mother as she was walking, and she wanted him. She wanted the little boy. I don't think she left of her own volition. So long story short, he went with her and not the grandmother. So in that case, I got faked out and I gave the boy to the wrong person. So that's another thing that I need to pay attention and make sure that they don't just hang out up here and then come back down. So now let's talk about how ghosts move around. Ghosts are earthbound, which means that they can't do when our loved ones are on the other side in heaven or whatever you want to call it. Everything is thought based. So they think about you, boom, they're with you. They think about their grandchild, boom, they're with their grandchild. They think about a special place that they love to visit, whether it be a park bench, the seashore, a mountain, a cabin, doesn't matter. A gambling casino. Somebody just said a gambling casino. Lord, y'all. Think about it. Boom, they're there. Okay. But if you're a ghost, you are earthbound. There's no thinking and being anywhere. You're stuck on this plane of existence, but you're not a human form. Now, how do you travel? With humans. I've had ghosts get in my car. I have a good friend who traveled on a plane with her. That's very common. Especially if they have an attachment to you, if they become friends with you in a sense, and it happens, they'll travel with you. When you go on vacation, they'll just go with you. But they have to go with a human. Otherwise, they got to walk. They got to go, out the door and walk down the street. Now, for some reason that I also am not going to get into here, they don't find that to be safe. They don't like being outside of homes. They like to be in a church. A lot of dead people in churches because they're drawn to the light. You have funerals. Hello, there's the light. They're drawn to it. And I think they're also trying to get absolvement or whatever that is. They're trying to be absolved of their whatever it is, their crimes, whatever it is they think they've done, their misdeeds. They're trying, I honestly think that they sit there with the priest or whoever it is, and they try to feel like they're going to be okay if they cross over. So, but ghosts live in houses. They live in hotels, everywhere. They're, you guys, they're everywhere. I promise you, you have had a ghost within 3 feet of you at some point in your life, and probably many, many times in your life. I promise you. Now, they do visit graveyards, but they don't really hang out there. Again, they don't really like being out by themselves. I don't know why they don't think it's safe, but they don't think it's safe. They don't like it. So they would rather, so if they're going to go somewhere, they're going to go with you or another human. They can jump right on the back of any human. They can jump in on a car. They can walk out the house, the door of the house, walk to the street, and just go with somebody else. Easy peasy. So that's how they travel. I don't think there's anything else that I need to say about travel. They did tell me one other reason why they don't. Oh, there's one last reason. One last reason why they don't cross over. They don't think they're dead. Now, this was hard. I had a hard time with this one because how could you not know you're dead? You know, but I had it really face to face. One of my first biggest, no, it wasn't my biggest, but anyway, one of the bigger, more memorable experiences I had with a ghost. I was having all this trouble in my house. It was before I was really doing readings. And I did not know how to fix it. It was definitely a ghost. It was scaring my dog. It was a problem, a real problem. And I couldn't, even though I'm a medium, she was hiding from me. So they can hide from mediums just as easily as they can show themselves. Now, if I am just doing my daily business, I'm not looking for ghosts. Okay. But if I were to tune in to ghost frequency, I would find them. Of course, I wasn't looking in my house. I mean, why would I be looking in my house for ghosts? I don't know. I didn't think to. I'm on the phone with a friend who's a psychic and a medium. And I'm telling her my problems. And she says, Susan, it's a ghost. I'm telling you, I see her plain as day. As soon as she said that, I will never forget that. So I was standing at my kitchen counter and there was an open concept. So the living room was on the other side of the kitchen counter. And I'm on my cell phone. And as soon as she said that, she appeared right in front of me. And I mean, ghosts can appear in your mind's eye, which is how I prefer it. But they can also appear kind of in front of you, not in the physical flesh, but it feels more real. It looks and feels more real. There she was. I'm like, I'll never forget this. I said, never mind. She's here. I see her. Her name is Shelly. Just like that, I knew everything about her. So I hung up on the phone with my friend and I talked to Shelly. She was a blonde white chick that was thin, about 5'7", and she had sort of wounds. I will use that word. She had wounds on her body that were bloody. But she didn't seem to know about it. And she's telling me she needed a ride to the hospital. Never mind, why are you in my living room? You know what I mean? Never mind, like, why are you in my house? She thinks that's normal. She's telling me she wants me to give her a ride to the hospital. Well, it turns out I was leaving, but I wasn't going to the hospital and I had an appointment to get to and I was running late. So I said, Shelly, I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get rid of this ghost. Shelly, come with me and I'll give you a ride as far as I can. I'm not going to the hospital, but I'll give you a ride as far. I really didn't have time, or I swear to God, I would have taken her to the hospital. I don't like being late, and I was about to be late. So she gets in the truck, and we set off, and I remember thinking to myself, where can I drop this woman off? And there was a hotel, an older, like a historic hotel. And I thought, that's like a mile away. I'm going to diversion over to this hotel. So I go to the hotel and I pull up and I say, Shelly, well, we had the whole discussion about you are dead. She said, I'm not dead. I said, you are dead. She said, I'm not dead. I think I even put my hand through her and she said, I'm not dead. So I said, Shelly, if you will go to this hotel, they can help you. There's lots of people like you in there. Wink, wink, you know? So she got out. She was so tired of me. She got out and left. She just right out through the door without opening it. Hello, you're not alive. But anyway, got rid of her. So ghosts do sometimes simply do not think they're dead. It's a shock to them that they're dead. If they have a shocking death, that's another reason. They may have such a shocking, surprising death that they jump out of their body and they're looking at their body and they're looking all around and they follow their body for a while. They go to the coroners or the autopsy, or they go to the funeral home or the hospital. They follow their body. That's theirs. That's the last thing they know. Their intention and focus is on their body, not on the angels that are trying to get their attention or their loved ones who are there trying to get their attention. They may even see a loved one that's crossed over and say, Dad, not yet. I'm not dead yet. Don't come get me yet. And then they go off with their body, right? To try to make sure that there's not another chance to jump back in there and be alive again. So there's lots of reasons. Hopefully this made sense. This gave you a little bit of a primer about ghosts and about how they interact with us. Sometimes they're just trying to get your attention. They throw things, they make noises, they make sounds. The funny thing is that if they would just cross over, they can do all the same things and more. I really think that's why they said, may he rest in peace. Don't we ever pay attention to why we say certain things? Rest in peace? What's the opposite? You know what I mean? They're really saying, don't become a bothersome ghost. Rest in peace. You know? So it's really funny to me, all these sayings we have that we never pay attention to why we say them. There's really, it's an indication that there's more that's there than we're talking about. So listen, have a good Halloween, or whenever it is that you watch this. Ghosts are around all the time, but during Halloween, the veil is thinner, which means that your loved ones can come through the veil easier. Ghost entities, whatever, anything can come through the veil much easier around Halloween and also the Day of the Dead, which is tomorrow. So, you know, now's a good time to talk to your loved ones on the other side and say, show me a sign. You know, you can look at their picture and say, I love you. I'm sending you lots of love and light, and send me a sign. It's just a choice, right? It's just a choice whether you want to go or you want to stay. And I'm telling you, it's much better to go. So listen, thanks again for joining me. You guys have a really good day today, and we'll talk again soon right here on this channel.